Alright guys, so in the last video we set up our messages controller and we're submitting the form to it. We added some validation. Now we need to take care of the database. We want this contact form to submit this stuff to the database. So we're going to use phpMyAdmin to basically create the database and look at the data and so on. So let's go to localhost/phpMyAdmin, and if you're using XAMPP you should automatically have this. If you're not, then go ahead and install it and get it set up. All right, or I mean, you don't have to use this. You could use the command line if you know what you're doing. So let's go to databases and let's create a new one. We'll call this basic website create, and that's pretty much all we need to do here. We're not going to have to insert the data here. We're going to create a migration for that. Okay, migrations are basically, they allow you to interact with the database, whether it's creating tables or, inserting data or deleting tables or columns, whatever it may be. You want to do that through migrations, not through phpMyAdmin. We're strictly using phpMyAdmin to see what we have in the database. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create the model. So let's go to the command line. And we're going to do PHP artisan, just like we did make controller, we're going to do make model. All right, and then the model name is going to be message. Okay, your models should be singular and your controllers should be plural. Now, there's an extra option I want to add here, and that's -m. What that'll do is it'll create the migration file for us so that we don't have to create it ourselves. All right, so let's go ahead and run that. And you'll see that in the app folder we now have a message.php. This is the model. Okay, it may be a little confusing because there's no models folder. They're just kind of put right in the app folder. All right, now the migration, if we go to the database folder, you'll see a migrations folder, and there should be 3 files in here. One is to create the users table, and one is to create the password resets table, and then one is to create the messages table. So these 2 are actually included with Laravel by default. Okay, so we don't have a users table yet because we just created the database, but once we run migrate, all of these files in here are going to run. Now this application isn't going to need the users table or password resets, but I'm just going to leave them there and let them get created. All right, and then this one here is the one that we need to look at. This is what we created. Basically, a migration has 2 main methods, up and down. Up is going to run when you run the migration in Artisan, and what this is going to do is create a table called messages. It's going to add an ID field, which will be auto increment and primary key, and then it's going to add a couple timestamp fields, created at and updated at. And then down is going to run if we decide to roll back the migration, if we change our mind and we want to drop the messages table. All right. Now, I do want, in here, we want to add a couple more fields to this table when it's created. We want the fields that, the form has, which is name, email, and what's the other one? Message. So we just need to do table, and then the type, this is going to be a string, and this is going to be the name field. Okay, and we'll do the same thing for email. And for message, now message I want to be a little longer, so instead of string we're going to use medium text. Okay, there's long text, medium text, and then the down is fine because it's just going to drop the whole table if we roll back. So that should do it. Let's go ahead and save this, and then what we want to do is run the migration. So we say PHP artisan migrate. Oh, we didn't add our database parameters yet. So to do that, you want to go to the .env file and go to where it says MySQL and put the database name, which in my case is basic website, the username, which is root, and then the password, which is 1 through 6 for me. Make sure you put your own information in here. And we'll save that. And then, let's see, I think we're going to get another error. Let's just run, So this right here is, I guess it's a bug. this syntax error, access violation. It says that this 1071 specified key was too long. Now to fix this, let me actually copy this. Alright, and whoop, I didn't mean to do that. But I'm going to just search for this because there's a page. I think it's the first one here. Tells us what to do. Yep. So we actually have to go into, let's see, what file is it? I think it's the app provider file. So if we go over here to app and then providers, app service provider.php, there's a boot method. We just want to grab this right here. And we need to put that in. And in order to use the schema, we have to put this in right here. Alright. And save. And now we should be able to do the migration just fine. So again, we'll do PHP artisan migrate. Table users already exists. Oh, so it did create the users table and then it hit the error. Okay, so you'll see there's a users and migrations table. What I'm going to do is just completely drop those. And then run it again. Alright, so now it created everything. Let's go ahead and look in here. And we have users, password resets, migrations, and our messages table. Migrations just basically keeps track of all the migrations that you do. But if we look in messages and we go to structure, you'll see we have an ID field, a name, email, message, created at, and updated at. So that's our table for the messages. Now what we want to do is in the controller, we want to submit to the model into the database. Now to use the message model, we need to include it up here. So we're going to say use app and then backslash. Make sure you do a backslash. I know that confuses some people. It's the slash right above your enter or return key. And then we want the model name, which is message. Okay, use app / message. And now when we do our submission, instead of just returning success, we're going to create a new message. Alright, so first thing we'll do is create a message variable, set it to new, and then the model name, which is message. Now this is actually Eloquent. This is a Laravel database library. You can do straight up SQL statements, but in most cases he won't. Eloquent is a much, well, more eloquent way to do it. Alright, so we're just going to say new message, and then we can assign each value. So let's say message name, and that's going to equal what's entered in the form. So remember, we can get that with request input name. Alright, we're just going to do the same for the other fields. Okay, so this one will be email, and then this one will be message. Alright, and then all we have to do now is save it. So we'll say save message, and we can do that by simply saying message save. Alright, and then after that, after it's entered into the database, we want to redirect. Alright, so let's say return redirect, and let's go back to the home page. Alright, so let's save, and now let's see if this works. Okay, so we'll go to our contact page. We'll say John Doe, email address, oops, and message. We'll say hello, I need a website. Submit. Redirects us back to the home page. Let's take a look at the database now. In the messages table, we'll click browse, and there he is. And you can see the ID was put in automatically, as well as the created and updated at. Alright, now the last thing I want to do here is show you how to use flash messages. So after we redirect, I want a message to say that your message has been submitted. All right, so what we'll do is down here where it says where we redirect, we want to just add on to this, and we'll say with, and then status, and we'll say message sent. All right, now this by itself isn't going to show anything, but it's going to give us access to the message. So what we have to do is output it in our view, and I'm going to use the message. Where is it? The message include. So in views inc and then messages.blade.php, and we'll go right under where we did the errors, and we'll do an if. We'll say if session. Whoops. Is it? Yeah. If session status. Actually, instead of status, let's put success. Okay, and then if session success, and in here what we'll do is loop through. Actually, no, we don't have to loop through. We can just put a div, and we'll give it a class of alert and alert success, and then in here we can just do session success. Okay, that should work. So let's go back to contact. We'll send in another one. Let's say Mark Smith, msmith@yahoo.com. Hello, how are you? And submit. And there we go. We get our message sent alert or message. And if we go to our database, there's Mark Smith. All right, so we can now submit data to the database. So in the next video, which I believe will be the last, I just want to have a page where we can actually see the messages that are sent. Now, if this were a real application, you'd probably have a login system and have that blocked unless you log in. But we're not going to get into that stuff just yet. But I do want to show you how to fetch data from the database. All right, so we'll get into that next.